Hey, Johnny here. I'm one of the coaches at Propane Business and Propane Fitness. This is the second video in this little series where I try and fail to use the whiteboard to explain some concepts. So in the first video, if you go back, depending on how you're watching this, look through our YouTube channel, you'll see a video where I discuss setting goals as a business owner or setting goals as moving into an online business, and why the sort of the vision boards and the vague goal setting doesn't really work, and you need to bring it down to numbers, tactics, things you can actually influence on a daily and a weekly basis. If you don't have that stuff, then it's all just kind of fluff anyway, right? Today I want to talk about the core thing in any business, right, which is the sales funnel, the sales process, the one that we have used in Propane Fitness to allow us to get to the point where we are. How I think really we've been able to still keep going in the online world and still stand out in the online world, even as thousands and thousands of coaches are piling in and there's lots of influencers with huge audiences. How have we been able to even get any kind of traction online, right? Which all down to what I'm going to share with you today, and then also really what I suppose when people come into our Propane Business program, the thing that they experience straight away that they immediately see as very different to other programs they've been in is that we don't focus on any of the stuff that you probably assume is required for an online business, right? So we don't really do any content. We don't post stuff online for free. We aren't really trying to build our Instagram. We sure there's stuff like this on YouTube, right? But there's a reason for that, and I'll be explaining that in a second. We instead focus, and certainly with new business owners, we get them to focus everything for the first 12 weeks on that one square. Right? I'm going to explain what that is in a second. What most people do is they live over here, right? People are always trying to build an audience. That's what, we see successful people in the fitness industry. We see that they have massive traction, huge followings, lots of engagement on the content that they're posting. We assume that that's what's required, right? We assume that that is the way that they have got to where they are. The fact is that's kind of looking outside in. So if you're building an audience and trying to get a bigger and a bigger audience all the time, when you don't actually have a way of converting that audience into customers, you're basically just wasting your time, to be honest. And most of the stuff that people do when it comes to free content and audience building is very time intensive, right? The way that the algorithms are changing, Facebook and Instagram especially, is that, and you may have noticed this, you post a lot of content online and over time you get less and less comments and likes and shares and engagements on those posts. Because these platforms, they may feel like, something that we as a community own, but they're businesses, they're profit-driven, profit-centric businesses that are also trying to generate a profit for their shareholders, their stakeholders, paying their employees, right? And if they are going to continue in the way that they are, which I think is more than likely, they will probably eventually stop businesses from being able to reach their customers for free at all in the future. That's certainly the way that we're seeing things. Go back 5-6 years ago, you could put a post on Facebook and instantly hundreds and hundreds of people would see it. Now, if you're using your business page, it's very different to that. And Instagram is changing that way as well. Depending on when you're watching this video, it may already be like that, right? So we can't really rely on that anymore, but that's what everybody's trying to do because we see a few people who are very successful. Instead, we build inside out, okay? So our view is if you can build a sales process in your business, then actually everything else falls into place. And the reason everything else falls into place is that once you can build a sales process that allows you to spend £100 in advertising, generate some magic here, and then make £100 to £100 back again, sure, that's great from a raw sales and marketing perspective, but even better, it actually allows all the stuff on Facebook, so the traffic, the clicks, the comments, the shares, the likes, the audience that you're building, that happens as a side product, right, of this whole process. So this really, and it looks very simple, but this is what we run our business on, okay? And this is what we teach before we teach anything else in our Propane Business program. So here's a simple overview, okay? So this here is the sales process that I keep referring to. This is what is allowing us in 1 to 3 weeks, in a 1 to 3 week time frame, to convert 2 to 5% of the people who come into our world into customers in the first chunk of time, right? So someone interacts with us on Facebook or Instagram or Google or whatever, right? They've landed on our website, and we funnel everybody into the same process that basically means we've engineered this and we're constantly improving it. But we know on average that between 2 and 5% of those people in the first 1 to 3 weeks will become a customer of ours. Okay, will buy our first initial program. Now, for us, that's between 100 and 200 pounds usually, but I mean, these are all just for sake of example, but that could be any price point, whatever works for your business, whatever's affordable for your niche. Okay, but the key thing here is that we can now control this. Once we know these numbers, this is up for control in the fact that we can use paid advertising to influence this. Okay, so once we know that this is working and converting at 2 to 5%, we can spend money confidently on advertising because we know that we're more than likely to get that money back. So we work with our clients to build this process, and this is what we spend even now. Like even now, ours is working. We're constantly improving it, constantly refining it to try and increase this number as much as possible and try and get the number of people into this process as high as possible. And this really needs to do a few things, this sales process. And everyone gets caught up in the tactics of it, right? Or the method. So everyone's worried about whether it's a challenge and how long the challenge needs to be. Or is it a webinar? Is it a phone call? Is it an email series? Or is it a lead magnet, right? All these things can work. They're just methods of delivery. Okay, and I don't want you to get caught up in, Johnny's saying do a challenge, I need to do a challenge. Johnny said phone sales work well, I need to do that, right? The key thing that will separate those from those who succeed and those who fail is not because you're using a 5-day challenge or a webinar, right? It's the message and it's what is said and it's how it's said and how it's put across in that experience. Okay, so pretty much any funnel can work, any sales process can work at this point, as long as these things are happening. Okay, so the first thing is during this 1 to 3 week timeline, this is the key thing that's happening, right? And you may have seen diagrams like this before, but basically our prospect or our lead is here. Okay, they're in a place where their current position, probably because they've clicked on something or they've got involved in this somehow, they're probably unhappy with an aspect of their life, their fitness, their health, the way they look, the way they perform. Right, they're in a current experience that means that they've done something, and at the moment it's just for free, but they've done something, they've stepped into this world to try and solve that problem, okay? And we know that where they want to get to is over here, okay? Their desired outcome, their dream body, their dream physique, their dream level of health and performance, whatever that might be. Now that gap and this process is really just all sales is, right? We are speaking to someone who is here, and we are widening that gap and explaining how our program, which is that little orange spark, right? Our program, or us as the coach, we can help them get from where they are to where they want to be. Okay? And so everything that we do in sales, whether you're speaking to someone on the phone, whether it's a webinar to loads of people, whether it's a 7 or 14-day challenge, right? You are always speaking to people who are here, widening that gap and explaining to them, you're not getting there on your own. You need our help. Our program will help you get to this place. Point B, your destination, your desired destination. Okay, and that sounds a bit like nasty and like spammy in terms of how I've described it, but really, if you think about it, like if you genuinely believe in your program, which you should if you're trying to sell something, and you genuinely believe that someone can get from there to there, from current situation to desired situation with your help in your program, then you shouldn't feel guilty selling it, right? Because you are legitimately going to help people. But we need to be, if we just bring someone in here and we just give them 5 days of videos that are nice and talk about nutrition and MyFitnessPal and how you should have a green smoothie in the morning, right? No one cares. No one cares about that stuff. That's never going to work because you aren't speaking to someone. You aren't having a sales conversation with someone. Okay? So this experience needs to do these 3 things. Toffee. Pretty good, eh? So I'll go backwards. So first thing, you need to give value, all right? And that's really what most people do, but that's all they do, all right? They focus on giving away free stuff. They focus on giving free programs, free downloads, free recipe guides, loads of free coaching, right? And then wonder why no one buys, because that's all they're doing. They're not addressing this. They're not addressing the gap between where someone is and where they want to get to and how their program fits that gap. You need to display things like that to even begin to have a hope of making a sale during this process. But we do need to give value. And what I mean by value is not necessarily just information, but you need to ideally help someone a little bit yourself. Okay, give someone a small chunk of the overall result that you get with your program. Because information's everywhere. If I want a program, I can Google one and get one for free. If I want to know what my macros are, I can Google that, I can get that for free. What I don't have is someone helping me put those things into my life. I can't Google and get that really for free, okay? Unless I'm in your sales process. So if I'm in your sales process and you're helping me somehow, immediately I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, this is free. Imagine what the paid stuff's like. All right, if this is what I'm getting and all I've had to do is enter my email, imagine what it would be like if I decided to sign up with this coach. We want to overcome any false beliefs that person has. So again, this is kind of here, right? Someone's stuck in point A in their current situation. Probably things holding them in that situation are a selection of false beliefs. I don't think I can lose weight. I don't think I can have carbs and lose weight at the same time. I don't think I'm able to exercise. I think I have a slow metabolism. It's going to be different for every niche, okay? But we need to overcome them. So it's to say, well, I know you might think that this is the case, but actually, and then tell them a small story about how you came to the realization. Actually, this is what I think. This is why I think it. This is how I came to that realization. You see how we do things differently. You do that through the sales process. You're giving someone value and you're overcoming all the things that are kind of holding them where they're at. So they're going through this whole situation in their mind. They get to the end of the 1 to 3 weeks and they're suddenly thinking, this person's given me loads for free. Fantastic. And actually, I can completely see this differently. I used to think that I wasn't going to be able to get results. Now I'm pretty sure I can. Now I actually think that my journey from point A to point B is with this program that he's talking about or she's talking about. We need to overcome any objections. So a lot of people, if they're new to online coaching, or maybe they're not, maybe they've worked with a coach before, they probably have objections to working with you. It might be price-based. It might be they've tried something like this before and it didn't work. It might be they've had a terrible experience with an online coach. It might be that they think they need an offline coach to make something work for them, right? But you need to address those. Address them head on. Address them before they even have a chance to say, I'm not signing up because reason 1, 2, 3, right? Talk about that in your content. Give examples of clients that you've helped. Give examples of, someone thought that an online coaching wouldn't work for them. Look at their results. Someone thought this was too expensive. Now they would. One of the famous quotes we have in one of our programs is someone said at the end of a year and a half with us, we have this testimonial where he said, if you'd asked me at the beginning whether or not the price of this program was worth it, I'd have said no. But retrospectively now, I think I would happily remortgage my house for the fat loss result that I've had and how much it changed his life. Okay, so talk to people in terms of examples of the objections they're having. People I've worked with, they had those objections too. They ignored them and look where they are now, okay? And then finally, we need to build trust. So if someone's in this process, it's probably because they saw something on Facebook, they came into your world, they've not really heard anything about you, they probably don't trust you. People have their guard up when it comes to the internet. People think they're going to get scammed. People have probably had a bad experience before. We want to overcome that process, that objection as well. So we want to build this first, and ideally what we do is we build this out, and at the moment we're teaching you to use challenges, but that's only because at the moment it's cheap, very cheap and easy to set up. It's kind of playing Facebook's game. Facebook loves groups. Facebook gives preferential treatment to groups. People are already on Facebook a lot of the time. It's a community. It allows you to coach. There's a lot of tools and a lot of things we can do in a group to build engagement. Okay, but you could use a webinar. You could use phone calls. You could offer a coaching call over the phone, not a spammy sales call, an actual coaching call where you're doing all this stuff, right? You could do an email series, offer a lead magnet. What matters is this, right? What matters is that you get it to convert. So as long as we know that whatever we're doing isn't just boring, isn't just teaching, right? We're actually talking about this a lot. We're talking about widening this gap and saying, you're where you are now, you're probably stuck there, you've probably tried these things and they've not worked for you, you want to get to here, and actually, in my view, the only way to do that, as long as you really believe this, the only way to do that is with my program, with this method, with what I do as a coach. Okay, widen that gap, position you as the bridge between point A and point B, build trust. I forgot what my acronym stands for. Build trust, overcome objections, overcome their false beliefs, and give value over a 1 to 3 week period. And you ideally want to be converting 2 to 5% of those people into a customer. All right. Once you've got this in place, everything else in your business then supports this. Okay. So if I can then start, let's say I do it to my organic, my audience that I can reach for free, whatever that might be for you. It might be your Instagram, Facebook, email list, whatever. You can probably only do that once or twice before you start to exhaust that audience, which is why the whole reason for us doing this, the whole reason for us focusing on this is we want to get to the point where we can run paid advertising as fast as possible. We want to be able to do that in a way that we know we're going to be profitable or at least break even, so that we can stand up against all the people who have huge organic audiences. Because if you want to try and build an organic audience yourself, it'll take you a long time. The fast track version is just this, right? Build this, get to the point where you can spend money, spend 100, 1,000, 10,000, right? And still make that back. You're able to stand out in the newsfeed against these people with big audiences, right? You're either spending time building an audience without any kind of assurance that you'll be able to convert that audience into customers, or you're spending money into a proven system and generating that money back again. Okay, so this is our preferred method. So Test it once or twice for free using your organic audiences. You'll probably find they don't respond after that. Ideally, get it to convert 2 to 5%. And what we really do with people inside of our Propane Business program is help them ensure that this stuff's in place, right? Because really, that's the hardest part of it, okay? Everyone can drive traffic at some point, turn on a Facebook ad and it work. Everybody can build a sales process, but it can be sometimes a bit tricky to make sure those pieces are in place. And it's going to be different for every audience and every niche and every business, which is part of the challenge. But once this is working, and this is really where the magic starts to happen, I suppose. So you might be looking at these numbers and thinking, £100 in, £100 out. That's not great, right? I can't run a business like that. We actually call this, if you've seen any of our trainings before, we call this a break-even back-end model, right? The reason for that is, really, the whole point of this is to break even, right? If we can spend £100 on Facebook or Instagram or Google, make £100 back again, we're bulletproof online because we can go out to the market, acquire email addresses. So we're getting 50 leads and a handful of customers, 1 or 2 customers, right? We're breaking even on our ad spend, but we're getting all these people into our world, into our system, okay? And they become email subscribers usually. Some people will buy in the first 90 days. There's been quite a lot of research over this, that there's a proportion of people who will go through any business and buy in the first 90-day period. But the majority of people need much longer than that, right? And we've seen sales from people who've opted into this process for us who don't buy for a 2-year period afterwards, right? So they needed nurturing, they needed to be spoken to in a different way, they needed more content, more time, more trust, more objections to be overcome, more false beliefs to be broken, and more value from us before they decided to part with some cash. Okay, but if we want to try and do that by just building a warm audience, which is what a lot of people are trying to do, okay, so a lot of people are trying to convert more and more of their Instagram audience by constantly just posting content onto their Instagram, right, and then wondering why it doesn't work. That costs them a lot of time. What we do is these people, so 2 to 5% of them do buy, brilliant. They become part of our program. We've broken even on that. Our goal with that is to then have a fantastic program, a fantastic service that then encourages them to stay and become a client. So they're a customer here, we want to become a client. So they'll build £100 in the first month, but we want them to stay and build £100 in the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. Right, and the longest lifetime client we've had is over 9 years now. Right, that's an online customer, or an online client, sorry. Right, someone who's been coached by us for 9 years, and we've actually met them now, but for years we'd never met them. Right, and that's, people who say you can't get results online, people who say online coaching is a fad and it won't work. Like, tell that to our clients who are getting these results. Okay, so. We spent £100-ish, probably. I can't, I'd have to look back on for that exact client. But there are examples of people who are staying with us for months and months and years, right? We spend often about £100 to acquire that customer. And the first transaction will about break even, right? But think of all the profit we make from just serving that person. And that's where having what I'll cover in another video, but that's where having a business model or a coaching system that doesn't require a customer comes in, that's 2 hours of my time to write the program, or 20 customers in, all right, that's 20 hours of my time to write that program, right? Having a system that means that the more clients that come in, people actually get a better experience from you, and your time doesn't scale. That allows you to run this reliably and profitably. But because we've broken even on the first day, but we've made all our profit on the back end. Right, we have to know your numbers a lot to be able to do this confidently, but as long as we're breaking even, we're not losing anything, we only stand to gain. And we can spend £100 to acquire a customer. If I ask you now how much you could spend to acquire a customer, or even do you know how much it costs you to acquire a customer, you probably don't know. The other side of this, though, however, is most people, 95% plus, don't purchase. What do we do with them? So all the time we're sending out mainly marketing emails or links over Messenger or whatever, right? But it's lists that we're building. We're building lists of people who've been through this process who are now email subscribers. Okay, so we'll send 3 to 4 emails a week that usually just link to content. Okay, so the reason for this video, the reason why we do anything like this, the reason we have a fitness podcast, we just started a business podcast at the time we were recording this video. The reason we do that is probably, if you're watching this, you're on our email list. Right? Probably you came into our world through something like this. And I know that either you're never going to buy from us in the future, and that's fine, or you're kind of on the fence and you're considering it, and probably you just need more of these things, right? And so what this video is just a bit more of that, right? A bit more teaching for free, and I'm sending it to you. It hasn't cost us anything, right, to send this video to you, to host this on YouTube and to send it to you over email. But what that's doing, or what we're doing over time, what we do in both the fitness side of the business and with this stuff as well, is every time we send an email, we assess its performance. If it hits some numbers, hits some KPIs that we want to hit, we put it into an automation. Okay, so what happens with new people who come into this, and this is happening every single week, people come in here, we try to convert 2 to 5% of them into customers. They join our fitness program, the Propin Protocol, or our 28-day program, right? And then ideally they stay and they get billed again. If they don't, they then automatically join an automation that is our best emails, right? Our content that our email list has responded the best to, links that people have clicked the most, pieces of content that we know are our best pieces of content. And I'm not having to constantly fill up our Instagram to do that, okay? I can just send that automatically. And then after 6 weeks or after 30 days or after 90 days, we just reopen our program again. We say, look, you've been listening to us for a while. Would you be interested in learning a bit more about what we do in our program? Would you like to schedule a call with us? Jump in our next challenge, jump on our next webinar. We either invite them back to a sales process or we just offer them a link to buy the program, right? That is how we're running our entire business. That is the process that we install in everybody's business. And you'll notice that really what we're talking about here is one sales funnel, some simple Facebook ads, and an email automation, and obviously your program, okay? But so many people don't have any of that, and instead they're worrying about the next shiny thing, right? They're worrying about a messenger bot. They're worrying about Facebook groups. They're worrying about the fact that their challenge isn't quite right, okay? If you're missing these things and you're not talking about this, I've just broken my square, then none of it will work, okay? You can use any sales funnel here and it will work as long as you're doing these steps, toffee, right? As long as you're having this conversation where you're widening that gap and positioning you as the bridge between the gap. And then once you've got this in place, you've tested it a few times, you know your numbers, you're straight away ahead of your competition. All right, that is everything. Hope you enjoy it. Speak soon.